Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. I always thought a marriage ended in chaos. Raised voices slammed doors, maybe a suitcase hurled down the stairs. But mine? It began to fray in whispers, in the quiet spaces where love used to live. Sarah and I had been married for 6 years, settled in a cozy apartment in Portland. Life wasn't flawless, but it felt solid. Or at least, I convinced myself it was. The first signs were subtle, like cracks in a windshield you don't notice until the light hits just right. Sarah started lingering downstairs after I went to bed, her phone casting a soft glow across her face. I'd stir at 2 a.m. and see her, lips curve in a private smile, fingers dancing across the screen. "What's so funny?" I'd mumble, half asleep. "Just a video," she'd say, tilting the phone away. She used to nudge me awake to watch those same videos. Now, she guarded them like secrets. Mornings used to be a ritual. I'd brew coffee, hers with a splash of oat milk, no sugar, and we'd sit at the kitchen table, planning our day. But one rainy Saturday, I slid her mug across the counter, and she didn't even glance up from her phone. "Thanks," she murmured, eyes locked on the screen. I sat opposite her, the steam curling between us. "You've been glued to that thing lately," I said, keeping my tone light. She shrugged. "Work group chat's been hectic." I leaned forward. "Anything worth sharing?" Her fingers paused just for a second. "Not really. You wouldn't get it." That stung. Sarah used to read me every thread, laughing until coffee nearly spilled. Now I was an outsider, peering through a window she'd half closed. I try not to dwell on it. We were both stretched thin. My job at the marketing firm was a treadmill of deadlines, client calls, and late nights. Sarah, a physical therapist, had her own pressures, new clients, endless paperwork. Maybe we were just out of sync. But the distance grew. She bailed on our weekly movie nights, claiming migraines, only for me to see her Instagram stories later, out with her friend Lisa at a wine bar. She bought new dresses, started curling her hair in soft waves, spent hours on errands that left no bags in her hands. One evening, she breezed past me in a black dress and perfume I didn't recognize, saying she was headed to a work event. Sarah doesn't network. She fixes knees and backs. I nodded, said, "Enjoy," and swallowed the doubt. I had no evidence, just a nod in my gut. So I played along, waiting for something concrete. It was a Tuesday night, rain tapping the windows when the knot tightened. We were halfway through a documentary, but Sarah wasn't watching. Her phone was cradled under a throw blanket, her thumbs moving in quick, furtive bursts. I glanced over. Bored of the movie, she didn't look up, just checking something. I forced a grin. "What? Planning a getaway with your secret boyfriend?" Her head snapped up, eyes sharp like I'd stepped on a nerve. "What's that supposed to mean, James?" I raised my hands, laughing it off. "Kidding, relax." But she didn't smile, didn't play along like she used to. She just stared, then dropped her gaze back to the screen. That moment lodged in me. The speed of her reaction, the edge in her voice. It wasn't guilt, not yet, but it was something close. Later, as she hummed in the bathroom, her phone buzzed on the couch beside me. I wasn't snooping. The screen just lit up. A notification, brief but searing. From someone named Ryan, still thinking about last weekend. My pulse didn't spike. I didn't gasp. I just sat there, the words burning into me like a brand. Sarah returned, snatched her phone without a glance, and slipped into bed. She didn't notice I hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. I lay beside her, wide awake, as her phone buzzed softly, her quiet giggles filling the dark. Each sound was a thread unraveling what we'd built. That night shifted something in me. I didn't confront her. I didn't demand answers. I wasn't interested in her half-truths about Lisa or some vague team dinner. Whatever Sarah thought she was hiding, it stopped matching the moment I saw Ryan's name. She wouldn't hand me the truth, so I'd find it myself. When she finally slept, her breathing slow and even, I reached for her phone. I knew her passcode, watched her tap it absent-mindedly 100 times. I swiped through messages, notifications, apps, even her photo gallery, but there was nothing. No Ryan, no texts, no trace. She'd erased it all. I sat in the dark, the phone heavy in my hand, a dead end glowing back at me. That's when I knew I needed help. The next morning, I called Alex, an old friend from college who fixed everyone's tech disasters. Hacked emails, lost files, you name it. I kept it vague, said I needed to recover some deleted texts, maybe from a cloud backup. He didn't pry. Send me her logins, he said. Google, iCloud, whatever she's got. I'll dig. Sarah wasn't careful with passwords. She used the same handful, even joked I was her tech support if she ever forgot them. That evening, I sent Alex what he needed. An hour later, his text came, "Meet me at my place. You want to see this?" I drove across town, the wipers slashing through the drizzle, my hands steady on the wheel despite the storm inside. Alex's apartment was a clutter of monitors and coffee mugs. He opened his laptop, clicked a folder, and let the screen speak. Texts loaded, one after another, a digital confession Sarah thought she'd buried. I scrolled, my eyes tracing every word, every emoji, every photo. It wasn't just flirtation, it was betrayal, laced with mockery. Sarah told Ryan I was clueless, that I thought I was such a great husband. One message gutted me. "James is so predictable. I could be sneaking out every night, and he'd still set my coffee out." Ryan replied, "Sounds like you're already halfway there." They laughed about my habits, how I always refold the towels, how I check the thermostat before bed. She sent him a photo of me napping on the couch, captioned, "The king of routine." I felt hollow, not angry, just empty. Alex sipped his coffee, watching me. "What's the plan, James?" I shut the laptop. "Nothing. Not yet." I wasn't going to beg or scream. I wasn't going to play her game. Sarah thought she knew me. Safe, oblivious James. But she didn't know the man I was becoming. And I wasn't about to tip my hand. After that night at Alex's, something in me hardened. I stopped chasing Sarah's lies, stopped trying to decode her half-smiles or vague excuses. I wasn't her husband anymore. Not in the way she thought. I was a man with a plan, watching her from the edges of our life. Sarah didn't notice. She still pecked my cheek each morning, still asked if I needed anything from the market, still played the part of a wife coasting through a quiet phase. But I wasn't coasting. I was counting down. She started talking about a weekend trip, a physical therapy seminar in Seattle, she said. I didn't blink, just nodded. Sounds like a good opportunity. I knew it wasn't Seattle. I knew Ryan was part of the itinerary. She'd booked the flight under her maiden name, thinking I'd never check her email. She packed her suitcase with care, silk tops, heels, a necklace I'd never seen her wear. While she folded her secrets into that bag, I was packing too, but not for a trip. I rented a storage unit 10 minutes from our Portland apartment, a small, concrete space that smelled of dust and metal. I moved things she wouldn't miss. Winter coats, old camping gear, a box of vinyl records, the leather journal my sister gave me when I turned 30. I kept the apartment looking untouched, rearranging shelves to mask the gaps. Sarah was too distracted to notice. At night, when she fell asleep with her phone tucked under her pillow, I lay awake, mapping my exit. I opened a new bank account, transferred half my savings, and untangled myself from our shared life. I canceled joint subscriptions, streaming services, meal kits, even the gym membership we never used. I screenshot every shared account, every password, every bill, and stored them in a cloud folder Alex helped me encrypt. I wasn't just leaving. I was erasing myself from her world, piece by quiet piece. I met with a lawyer named Claire, a sharp woman with a no-nonsense voice who came recommended by a colleague. Over coffee in a cramped downtown office, she laid out the steps for a clean divorce. No kids, no major assets, it's straightforward, she said. File uncontested, and it's over in weeks. I nodded, signed a retainer, and handed over the evidence Alex had pulled. Claire didn't flinch at the screenshots. "This makes it easier," she said. "You're not emotional." "That's good." Sarah left for her seminar on a foggy Friday morning. She hugged me at the door, her perfume sharp and unfamiliar. "Don't let the plants die while I'm gone," she teased, her smile as practiced as ever. I grinned back. "I'll try my best." The door clicked shut, and the apartment fell silent. I didn't hesitate. I walked to the bedroom, opened her dresser, and placed a manila envelope inside, right on top of her neatly folded scarves. Inside was the divorce petition, signed and dated. I didn't write a note. The papers spoke for themselves. Then I grabbed my duffel bag, already packed with essentials, and left. I didn't look back. I'd rented a studio across town, a bare-bones place with a single window overlooking a parking lot. It wasn't home. It was a checkpoint. I moved the last of my things from the storage unit, clothes, laptop, a few books, and set up a temporary life. By noon, I was settled, my phone powered off, my old SIM card tucked into a drawer. Sarah's flight landed at 2:47 p.m. I knew because I still had access to her travel app. At 2:50, she texted, "Landed. Miss you already." I didn't reply. Our apartment, was now a stage. I'd stripped it of anything that mattered to me. My desk was empty, my half of the closet bare. I left just enough to keep her from suspecting right away. Some old shirts, a pair of sneakers she hated, a stack of magazines. On the kitchen counter, I placed a second copy of the divorce papers, anchored by a single post-it. Read it. At 4:15 p.m., my work phone buzzed. It was Claire. "She found the papers," she said. "Called my office twice, left voicemails." Sounds frantic. I thanked her and hung up. By 5:30, my personal phone, now powered on briefly, lit up with Sarah's texts. "James, what is this? Are you serious? Where are you? Call me." Then voicemails, her voice climbing from confusion to panic. "James, I just got home. What's going on? Please, just talk to me." She tried FaceTime, then called again, 5 times in 10 minutes. I let each one ring out. At 8:22 p.m., a new message. "I don't understand. Can we just talk? Please." I stared at the screen, then dialed her number. She answered on the first ring. "James." Her voice trembled, like she was holding her breath. I kept mine steady, cold. "You saw the papers. It's clear." "James, wait, what's happening? Why are you doing this?" "You know why," I said. "It's all there." She started to speak, but I hung up and powered off the phone. That was the last time I let her voice reach me. Not because she stopped trying, but because I stopped listening. By Saturday morning, Sarah was unraveling. My work email filled with messages. "Please, James, just tell me where you are." She tried my LinkedIn, of all places, as if a professional headshot could undo the truth. I ignored it all. That evening, I got a text from Alex. "She's been calling mutual friends, spinning some story about you overreacting." I didn't respond. Let her spin. The truth was in those texts, the ones she thought she'd deleted. The ones where she laughed about me to Ryan, called me boring, said I'd never suspect a thing. She didn't know I had copies, didn't know I'd seen her for who she was. Sunday night, I was in my studio, unpacking a box of books when my buzzer rang. I froze. Only Alex knew my new address, and he wasn't the type to show up unannounced. I checked the grainy security camera feed on my phone. There she was, standing in the parking lot, her coat pulled tight against the drizzle. Sarah looked up at the building, scanning the windows, her phone glowing in one hand. She looked tired, smaller somehow, like the weight of her choices had finally settled. I watched as she approached the door and pressed the buzzer again. "James!" Her voice crackled through the intercom. "Are you there? Please." I didn't move. She knocked, soft at first, then harder. "I know you're here," she said. "I saw your car. Just talk to me." I sat on the couch, lights off, the hum of the fridge filling the silence. "I don't know what you think you know," she said, her voice breaking. "But it's not what you think. Ryan, it wasn't real. It was just stupid. I stopped it. I swear." She paused, waiting for a response that never came. "You were always working, James." I felt alone. I just needed someone to notice me. Her words twisted something in me, but not enough to move. "I made a mistake," she said. "One mistake. Can't we fix this?" I stood, walked to the door, and opened it. Sarah's eyes widened, like she hadn't expected me to appear. For a moment, she looked like the woman I married, soft, familiar. But I knew better. "You didn't make one mistake," I said, my voice low even. "You made 1,000, and I saw every one." Her mouth opened, but no words came. I closed the door, locked it, and turned away. She knocked again, called my name, but I didn't listen. I sat back on the couch and let the silence take over. Whatever Sarah thought she could salvage, it was gone, and I was just getting started. The days after Sarah's visit to my studio apartment felt like the calm before a storm, one I'd already planned to weather. Her knocks still echoed in my mind, her voice pleading through the door, but I didn't soften. I'd seen too much, knew too much. Sarah's words, "It was just stupid. I stopped it," were a flimsy bandage on a wound she'd carved herself. I wasn't interested in her explanations. I was done being the predictable husband she mocked in text to Ryan. Now, I was rewriting the script, and she didn't even know the plot. Sarah's messages shifted after that night. The desperation drained away, replaced by something sharper, colder. "So this is how you deal with things, James? Just run away? Real mature. Another. You think you're hurting me? You're making a fool of yourself." I read each one, my face blank, and didn't respond. She was trying to bait me, to pull me into a fight where she could twist the narrative. But I wasn't playing. I'd already moved 3 steps ahead. My new life in the Portland studio was sparse but deliberate. A bed, a desk, a single shelf for books. It wasn't about comfort. It was about clarity. Every morning, I woke to silence, not the buzz of her phone or the weight of her secrets. I started running again, the damp Oregon air filling my lungs, each step a reminder that I was free. A week later, my phone pinged with a message from Sarah's best friend, Emily. "James, she's a mess. Ryan ghosted her, deleted everything. She's not eating, barely sleeping. Can you just talk to her?" I stared at the screen, the words stirring nothing but a faint amusement. Sarah hadn't just lost me. She'd lost the man she'd gambled on, the one who thrived on her being someone else's wife. Once the thrill of her double life vanished, so did Ryan. I didn't reply to Emily. Let Sarah spin her sob story. The truth was in those screenshots, the ones where she laughed about my coffee ritual, my folded towels, my trust. She'd built her house of cards, and I wasn't going to catch it when it fell. By Monday, Sarah was back in our old apartment, the one I'd left looking like a hollowed-out version of our life. The divorce papers gave her 60 days to move out, a clause Claire had insisted on to keep things clean. I knew she couldn't afford the rent alone, not on her physical therapist salary, not with her new habit of buying dresses and plane tickets to nowhere. She tried to keep up appearances, posting photos of coffee dates and sunsets, but the captions felt forced, the filters too heavy. I didn't check her socials myself. Alex sent me updates, unprompted. "She's trying hard to look okay," he texted. "But people are talking." I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. Sarah started reaching out to our mutual friends, painting me as the villain. "James just left, no warning," she told them. It wasn't even cheating, just some dumb texts. But Portland's a small city, and secrets don't stay buried. Someone, maybe Emily, maybe Lisa, had seen the screenshots Alex pulled. They circulated, not because I shared them, but because Sarah's lies didn't hold up. One by one, her brunch buddies stopped texting back. Her weekend invites dried up. By the end of the month, she was crashing on her cousin's couch in Beaverton, the apartment lease signed over to a new tenant. She applied for a credit card to cover her bills, got rejected, and had to ask her dad for a loan. I heard all this through the grapevine, not because I sought it out, but because people talk when someone's life implodes. Meanwhile, I was building something new. My mornings were mine, coffee brewed for one, no need to guess someone's mood. I took on bigger projects at the marketing firm, pitched ideas I'd shelved during the marriage, and landed 2 new clients. I reconnected with old friends, guys I'd lost touch with when Sarah's schedule dictated our weekends. We grabbed beers, hiked Multnomah Falls, laughed about nothing. It wasn't about filling a void. It was about remembering who I was before I became Sarah's husband. I even started sketching again, something I hadn't done since college. The studio's single window became my frame, the parking lot outside a canvas for ideas I'd forgotten I had. One evening, Alex called. "She's on the dating apps now," he said, his voice neutral. "Heard she's had a couple of rough dates." I leaned back in my chair, the city's hum filtering through the window. "Not my problem," I said, and meant it. Sarah's life was her own mess now, a tangle of consequences she'd woven with every lie. I didn't wish her pain, but I didn't know her salvation either. I'd spent years being her safety net, her predictable James, and all it got me was a front row seat to her betrayal. Now I was out of the audience, writing my own story. But Sarah wasn't done trying to pull me back. Late one night, around 1 a.m., my phone lit up with her name. I let it go to voicemail, but the message popped up on my lock screen. James, I'm so sorry. I was an idiot. I didn't know what I had. Attached was a photo from 3 years ago, us on a pier in Cannon Beach, her head on my shoulder, the ocean stretching behind us. We looked happy, like the kind of couple who'd make it. I stared at the image, not angry, not sad, just detached. The man in that photo didn't exist anymore. Neither did the woman she pretended to be. I deleted the message without listening to the voicemail. There was nothing she could say that I needed to hear. Sarah had spent months laughing at me behind my back, calling me blind, soft, easy to fool. She thought I'd never walk away, that I'd cling to the scraps of our marriage because I didn't know better. But that was her mistake. I didn't need to yell, to confront, to win some dramatic showdown. I just needed to leave. And I did, quietly, completely, with no intention of looking back. Claire called the next morning. She's contesting the divorce, she said. Says she wants to mediate, try counseling. I laughed, a short, dry sound. She can try, I said. I'm not sitting in a room with her. Claire didn't push. Your call. We got enough to push it through without her signature. It'll just take longer. I told her to do whatever kept it clean. I wasn't fighting Sarah. I was done with her. But I knew she'd keep pushing, keep trying to rewrite the ending. That's what kept me sharp, kept me watching. Sarah thought she could outmaneuver me, but she didn't know the game had changed. And I was already planning my next move. Sarah's attempt to contest the divorce didn't surprise me. It was her last grab at control, a way to drag me back into her orbit. But I wasn't the man she'd underestimated anymore. I'd spent months untangling myself from her life, and I wasn't about to let her rewrite the ending. Claire, my lawyer, was unfazed. She's pushing for mediation, claiming she wants to save the marriage. She told me over the phone, her tone dry. But the evidence is ironclad. Those texts, the photos, she can't spin her way out. I leaned against the window of my Portland studio, the city's gray skyline stretching below. Let her try, I said. I'm not meeting her. Claire paused, then said smart. I'll file to move forward. It might drag a bit, but she's got no real leverage. I thanked her and hung up, the weight of her words settling in. Sarah was fighting a battle she'd already lost. Her messages kept coming, though the tone had shifted again. No more apologies, no more photos of happier days. Now, they were laced with accusations. You're throwing away 6 years over nothing, James. You're acting like I'm some monster. Another. Everyone thinks you're overreacting. You'll regret this when you're alone. I read them in silence, my thumb hovering over the block button, but never pressing it. Not yet. I want to see how far she'd go, how deep she'd dig her own hole. Each text was a reminder of who she'd become, or maybe who she'd always been. The Sarah I married wouldn't have mocked me to a stranger, wouldn't have laughed at my trust. That Sarah was a fiction, and I was done mourning her. Word spread fast in our circle. Sarah's narrative, that I'd abandoned her over a few flirty texts, started to crack. The screenshots Alex had recovered made their way around, not because I shared them, but because someone did. Maybe Emily, fed up with Sarah's lies, or Lisa, who'd always been more loyal to the truth than to drama. Friends who'd once filled our apartment with laughter stopped returning Sarah's calls. Her social media, once a highlight reel of brunches and beach trips, went quiet. Alex texted me one night. She's couch surfing at her cousin's again. Tried to get her old job back, but they hired someone else. I didn't reply. Sarah's collapse wasn't my victory. It was just the consequence of her choices. I, on the other hand, was climbing. Work became my anchor. I pitched a campaign that landed the firm's biggest client yet, earning a bonus in a corner office with a view of the Willamette River. I started boxing at a gym downtown, the rhythm of punches and footwork burning away the last traces of tension. My evenings were my own, dinners with friends, late-night sketching, even a weekend trip to Bend with Alex and a few guys from college. I wasn't running from the past. I was building a future that didn't include Sarah's shadow. My studio, once a temporary hideout, started feeling like a home. I hung a print of Mount Hood on the wall, bought a proper coffee maker, filled the shelves with books I actually wanted to read. For the first time in years, I wasn't living for someone else. But Sarah wasn't ready to let go. One rainy Thursday, 3 months after I'd left, my buzzer rang at 10 p.m. I checked the security feed. There she was standing in the parking lot, her hood up against the drizzle. She looked thinner, her shoulders hunched, like the fight was draining out of her. I watched as she approached the door, her steps hesitant. The intercom crackled. "James, please. I know you're there." I didn't move, just sat on the couch, the TV muted, the room dark. She knocked, softer this time. "I'm not here to fight," she said, her voice muffled. "I just need to explain. Ryan was nothing. A mistake. I was lonely, and you were gone. Work, always work." She paused, waiting for a response I wouldn't give. "I know I hurt you. I'm sorry, but we can fix this. We're still us." Her words were an echo of the night she'd shown up before, but weaker, like a script she didn't believe anymore. I stood, walked to the door, and opened it, just enough to see her face. Sarah's eyes lit up, hopeful, but they dimmed when she saw mine. "There's no us," I said, my voice steady. "You made sure of that." She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "You didn't just cheat, Sarah. You laughed at me. You lied for months. You don't get to fix that." Her lips trembled, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. "James," I closed the door, locked it, and walked away. She knocked again, called my name, but I turned up the TV and let her voice fade into the storm. The next morning, Claire emailed me. Sarah had dropped the mediation request. "She's not fighting the divorce anymore," Claire wrote. "Papers should be finalized in a few weeks." I read the email on my desk, the river sparkling outside my office window, and felt nothing, no relief, no triumph, just the quiet certainty that I'd done what I needed to. Sarah's life was spiraling, but mine was steady. I didn't check her socials, didn't ask Alex for updates. She was becoming a stranger, someone I'd once known but no longer needed to understand. Then, one Friday night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "James, it's Lisa. Sarah's in a bad place. She's drinking too much, talking about you nonstop. I'm worried." I stared at the message, the glow of my phone cutting through the dark of my studio. Lisa had always been straight with me, even when Sarah wasn't. I typed a reply, then deleted it. Sarah's pain wasn't my responsibility. She'd built her cage, and I wasn't the one holding the key. But Lisa's words lingered, a faint ripple in the calm I'd worked so hard to build. I powered off my phone and went to bed, but sleep didn't come easy. The next day, I met Alex for coffee. He'd heard about Sarah's downward slide. Mutual friends, small city, same story. "She's telling people she wants you back," he said, stirring his latte. "Says she'll do anything." I shrugged, sipping my black coffee. "She can want whatever she wants. Doesn't change anything." Alex studied me, like he was waiting for a crack in my resolve. "You sure you're good?" he asked. I nodded. "Better than I've been in years." And it was true. Sarah's chaos was background noise now, a fading echo. But I knew she wasn't done. People like Sarah don't just let go. They cling, they claw, they try to rewrite the story until the last page. I wasn't worried. I'd already written my ending. All that was left was seeing how she'd play her final hand. The weeks after Sarah dropped her fight against the divorce felt like the world exhaling. The papers were finalized on a damp Portland morning, Claire's email landing in my inbox with a simple subject: done. I read the attached decree at my office desk, the Willamette River glinting outside, and closed my laptop. No fanfare, no rush of emotion, just a quiet line drawn under 6 years of a life I'd left behind. Sarah was no longer my wife, not even in name. I didn't celebrate, didn't mourn. I just kept moving forward, the way I'd been doing since the night I saw Ryan's text. Sarah's attempts to reach me tapered off, but they didn't stop entirely. Every few days, a new message would slip through. "James, I know you hate me, but I need to say I'm sorry." Or, "I'm trying to be better. I hope you're okay." I didn't respond, didn't block her either. Her words were like rain on a window, sliding off without leaving a mark. I'd learned who she was through her texts to Ryan, her laughter at my expense, her casual betrayal. Those weren't mistakes, they were choices. And I'd made mine when I walked out the door. Portland's gossip mill kept churning. Alex, ever the reluctant messenger, filled me in over beers one night. Sarah had moved out of her cousin's place, renting a cramped studio on the east side. She'd picked up part-time work at a clinic, but the job was a step down from her old role. Her social circle had shrunk to a handful of loyalists, and even they were pulling back. She's still talking about you, Alex said, peeling the label off his bottle. Tells people she messed up the best thing she had. I nodded, staring at the bar's neon sign. She's not wrong, I said, and we both laughed, the sound light but final. Sarah's regret wasn't my burden. She'd gambled on Ryan, on secrecy, on the thrill of a double life, and lost more than she'd bargained for. My life, meanwhile, was expanding. The marketing firm promoted me to lead strategist, a role that came with a team and a pay bump. I traded my bare-bones studio for a one-bedroom with a balcony, where I'd sit with coffee and sketch the city skyline. Boxing became a ritual, the gym's rhythm grounding me. I started dating, not seriously, just casual dinners, women who didn't know my past and didn't need to. Friends noticed the change. You're different, Emily said at a group hike, her voice cautious, like she was testing the waters. Good different. I smiled, adjusting my backpack. Feels good. I wasn't rebuilding. I was creating piece by deliberate piece, a life that was mine alone. One Saturday, 4 months after the divorce, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from Sarah. I was at a farmer's market, the air thick with the smell of fresh bread and rain-damp soil. I let it sit for an hour before listening, curiosity outweighing indifference. Her voice was soft, almost broken. James, I know you don't want to hear from me. I don't blame you. I was awful. I didn't see what I had until I destroyed it. I'm not asking for anything. I hope you're happy. You deserve that. She paused, then added, I'm trying to fix myself. It's hard. The message ended with a shaky breath. I stood by a stall selling lavender, the phone heavy in my hand. For a moment, I saw her, the Sarah from our early days, laughing on Cannon Beach, her hand in mine. But that image faded, replaced by the truth. Her text to Ryan, her mockery, her choice to betray me. I didn't call back. I didn't text. I deleted the voicemail and slipped the phone into my pocket. Sarah's journey was hers now, and I wished her no harm. But her pain, her growth, her regrets, they weren't my story anymore. I bought a bundle of lavender, its scent sharp and clean, and walked home through the drizzle, my steps steady. A week later, Lisa texted again. Sarah's off the apps. Started therapy. She mentions you less, but she's still not okay. I read it while eating breakfast, the morning sun cutting through my balcony doors. I type a reply this time. Thanks for the update. Hope she finds her way. I meant it not out of warmth, but out of detachment. Sarah's life was a chapter I'd closed, and no amount of apologies could reopen it. I hit send and turned my attention to a new sketch, the lines of Mount Hood taking shape under my pencil. Months passed, the seasons shifting from Portland's wet spring to its fleeting summer. I took a solo trip to the Oregon coast, stood on the same pier where Sarah and I had once posed for that photo she'd sent. The wind was sharp, the waves relentless, and I felt no nostalgia, only peace. I wasn't the man she'd called predictable, the one she'd laughed at for folding towels or checking the thermostat. I wasn't the husband who'd trusted blindly, who'd set out her coffee while she typed secrets under a blanket. I was James, 34, free, building a life that sparked with possibility. One night, Alex forwarded me a post from a mutual friend's story, a blurry photo of Sarah at a bar, alone, staring at her drink. Rough night, the caption read. I swiped it away, unbothered. Sarah's choices had led her there, just as mine had led me here. A quiet apartment, a full life, a future I could shape. I didn't hate her, didn't pity her. She was just someone I used to know, a lesson I'd learned and left behind. People think closure comes from confrontation, from shouting matches or tearful confessions. They think power is in the last word, the dramatic exit. But real power is quieter. It's walking away without needing to prove anything. It's letting someone else's chaos fade while you build something solid. I never fought for Sarah, never begged her to see my worth. I let her show me who she was, and then I chose myself. I didn't check her socials, didn't ask about her life. I didn't need to. I was okay, more than okay. And that was enough.